Everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway and welcome to yet another locomotive review. Today's is quite an interesting one and it's one that a few people have asked me to review since I showed it for the first time. So here it is, this is what it is the Lima GWR Railcar, I think that's basically what it's known as. And a lot of people have seen these models, they're quite a well-known, fairly well sought after as well model. And the main reason for that is because Hornby have also produced this model, and I don't mean they've made their own variation on it, they've actually released this very Lima version of the model. Basically they bought the toolings probably off Lima and they produced them for a few years, but presumably with the Hornby mechanism rather than the Lima one. Anyway, for some reason these seem to fetch quite a lot of money. Normally Lima locomotives you can buy them second hand for £20 normally, maybe some of them go up to 30, but £20 to £25 is normally about the going rate for a Lima loco, if you look in the right place of course. But for some reason, and I don't know if it's a rarity thing, but these tend to fetch quite a bit more than that. You can see them priced at 40 or sometimes more, and yeah, I don't know why it is, who knows. Anyway, the thing is, I can't remember how much I paid for this one. I hope I didn't pay more than 40, but it was at a train fair, so if anybody's willing to trawl over my last few train fair videos and find out how much I paid for this, that would be very interesting. But my guess would be sort of £35, maybe up to 40, who knows. But anyway, it's actually quite a decent model and a lot of people have been asking about it, so I thought why not to give it its own review. So here we are, that's what we're going to be doing today. It's not very often that I do a main review on a Lima loco, but because this one's a fairly special one, I haven't got a reason why it's special, but people seem to like it, so hey, I'm going to do it. Okay, let's take a look, shall we? And this is not a new thing. I mean, this model has been released a long time, and you can tell that really because the packaging is quite old-fashioned. And to be honest with you, all of the Lima packaging looked like this. They did redesign it a few times, but for the most part it looked like this. You can't really tell by the box what's inside, except you have got the little picture of the engine there which has been printed on, and a load of numbers. I'm not too sure what those numbers mean, to be honest with you. Maybe it'll make sense to someone, but it doesn't make sense to me. So anyway, let's get this thing out then, and I'll show it to you as quick as I can. There we go, it's in the, oh, you can tell how old it is because it's in the styrofoam tray, if you like. I don't think there's any paperwork or anything that came with this. There is this sleeve. It is not in English. Oh, it says remove for display. So yeah, I'm not too sure what that's all about. Oh, I suppose that might have protected the engine from the sunlight or whatever during transit or whatever, but then it was put behind the engine so customers in the shop could see it. That's going to be my guess anyway. No idea whether that's true or not. Anyway, let's get this one out then, and I'm just going to have a quick look at it so I can tell you the running number. So this one is number 22. There we go. And I think there was only 30 something built in real life. But anyway, that is the GWR Railcar. And for an old model, it is, it is fairly well detailed, to be honest, and it's a very smart looking thing. Of course, there are more modern, well, there's one more modern option available if you want one of these. It's the Dapol version. It does cost about 3 times as much, but clearly I expect it will have about 3 times as much detail on it, to be fair. But yeah, this one isn't bad for the price, put it that way. And I'm going to give you a little bit of info on them. There's not really much to say about them, to be honest, but I'll give you a bit of their background. And after that, we'll take a look at her on the white background. Is it still a her? I would think so. Alright, let's get to it. So the railcars of the Great Western Railway were first introduced quite early in 1933, and they became very successful and quite popular as well, with their air-smooth bodywork design, of course. They earned themselves the nickname the Flying Banana because the first few examples had rounded lines, which made them look like bananas apparently. I can't see it myself, but yeah, maybe this is based on a later one, I'm not too sure. Anyway, the class was fairly luxurious with onboard heating, which interestingly was steam powered. I believe the engines would have been diesel powered, presumably, or petrol. Probably not steam, although I'm not absolutely sure on that. I'm going to guess some kind of fuel other than coal, though, put it that way. Of 38 produced then, in total, only 3 cars remain in preservation, and I don't think I've ever seen one personally, but it may be that some of them are still running around today. So there she is then, the Lima Railcar in the Great Western livery, and to be honest with you, while this isn't the most detailed model in the world, I really think the overall appearance on this is really, really smart. Now, obviously, you're not going to be expecting a lot of detail on something like this. I would guess that this was produced in the 1980s, or thereabouts, that is just a guess. So, yeah, you're not going to be expecting the massive details. And is it a patch on the new Dapol version? Probably not. Well, certainly not, you know. I'm not trying to say that at all. But I still think there is a massive market for models like this. You know, this is a model, and I hate to say play with, but this is a model that you can play with. You can have it belting around on your layout, and it's not going to do it any damage. And, you know, again, if you're someone who just wants a loco that you can run every day in, day out, and it'll never wear out, this is probably something for you. I'm not trying to put down modern locomotives, because, of course, I own lots of them, but they're not things that you can run every single day and rely on. Whereas I would say, really, these Lima ones are. So yes, there is a market for the super detailed, you know, super expensive version of this particular model, but then I do think there's a big market for this. And to be honest with you, the detail, considering the age and considering the price, really isn't bad at all. So let's take a quick look at it. Now, the livery on this is quite reminiscent of Great Western coaching. It's in sort of like a three-tone, so you've got the brown at the bottom, the cream around the windows, and then the white around the top. And it's all lined with this sort of yellowy golden lining, which I think is quite attractive. There are a few transfers on this, but as usual with Lima, they're not the best in the world. The contrast isn't great. They look a little bit faded, even though I think that's how they were to start with. Anyway, you've got the Great Western crest on the side there, which again, a little bit faded looking, but you can tell what it is. And then you've got the number on the side there, number 22, and that's repeated quite a bit. And then on the ends of the model, you can see you've also got the Great Western crest, which has been printed onto there. Again, it's been done in pretty much the same way. Now, the ends of these models are probably the interesting part. As you can see, they're sort of air smooth, I think is the term for them. And it really is quite an unusual end, isn't it? I mean, yeah, completely unlike anything else, really. That's probably the big attraction with these, really. Anyway, the detail on the ends is quite impressive, to be honest with you. You've got the windscreen wipers, which are separately picked out in a silver paint. And also inside, there's quite a bit of cab detail in there. There's a few different colours being used. And you can see all of the controls and things which have been moulded on, which, again, for a model that is probably 30 plus years old, that's fairly good. And also, I must point out, you do have buffers which are separately fitted. They're not sprung, of course, but they are separately fitted, so that's one thing. You can see there's also a fair amount of internal detail as well. You've got all the seats picked out there, and there are little dividers inside which divide the driving cabs, for example, and the sort of motor area here, which bring another colour inside, and as you can see, that makes it look fairly realistic, if you see what I mean. I know that was a bit vague, but hopefully that makes sense. The bogie detail is also fairly impressive, again considering the age. As you can see, the motor bogie is slightly different looking to the other bogie, which I'll show you in a second, and there's all kinds of moulded detail on there, which is quite impressive. And then you've got the regular bogie, which again looks to be a different moulding. But again, that's quite a nice touch of realism for a model that really doesn't boast about its realism. So there we go. I think that's basically all I've got to say on the detail. Yep, as you can tell by the roof, for example, there's a fair bit of moulded work going on there, but really the separately fitted work is kept to a minimum. And really for something robust and something that, as I said, you can play with and run for hours on end, that's probably not a bad thing. This thing you can handle and you don't have to worry about it. So it has a market. It isn't for everybody, of course, but it's definitely for me because I am one of those people who likes to have a mess around, and this is the kind of engine that lets you do just that. Okay, well, let's see how she runs then. Let's get her down onto the layout with some other diesels and things, maybe some other Great Western stock as well, who knows, and we'll see how she goes. Alright, let's do it. Okay, so there she is then, ready to go on the line, looking quite smart on the track. Today, I'm not going to be coupling her to anything, I'm going to let her run light. In real life, I don't know what they would have coupled to, if anything, but I personally find that mine looks just fine running by itself, so that's what I'm going to do. But first of all then, let's do a little bit of slow speed testing and see how this does. Now actually, I think you'll be quite impressed by this. Take a look. Now this is an old mechanism, and it's a mechanism that isn't known for its good slow speed performance. But look at that. That really isn't bad at all, is it? Can't do the very, very, very slow speeds. If I slow it down, it starts to get a bit jerky, and then it starts to do that sort of stop-starting behaviour again. But it's really not bad. Let's just take it over the express points and see how it does. That's one bogey over, and that's the other bogey over. Very impressive. Wow, it's very good, and it's also got an awful lot of weight for what is probably just going to be a single car unit. It can pull quite a lot of coaches, And I don't know why that is, but you know, hats off to Lima for making it so heavy and giving it such a decent mechanism. Anyway, I'm going to have it running, well, technically the wrong way today, but I thought it would be nice to run it in a different direction for a change. So there she goes, and she's going on a slightly different route today, as you can tell, around the sidings. And all of the other engines that are on the line today have something in common with the GWR diesel railcar, either by where they're from. I'm trying to give you clues here. Either by where they're from or what kind of locomotive. So see if that's cryptic enough. So in that spirit then, the ones I'm going to be running, we've got this, which I believe is the 43XX. So that has something in common because it's also from the Great Western, of course. And then on the inside line I have the Warship Diesel, which is also Western region, but it's also a diesel, so it has things in common in that sense. So see if you can figure out what the other engines have in common, and there is one, of course, that has very little in common with the Great Western Railcar. So see if you can figure out which one that is, and enjoy the running session. She's just a fantastic runner, though, as you can see. Very good and reliable. Ooh, how about that for a close shave? Crikey. There goes the Warship. 10 points to anyone who can remember the name of that one, because I can't at the moment. Oh, I hate to have to admit that. And now for my ratings then on the Lima Great Western Railcar. Detail 2 out of 5. That's not necessarily a criticism, it's just honest. You know, of course this thing isn't that detailed, but it doesn't really detract too much. Power though, 5 out of 5. This loco has a lot of weight to it, and certainly for a single car unit it can pull several coaches, and yes, I have tried it. Slow speed, as you saw, it was actually pretty good for a model of this age, so I've given it 3 out of 5. Quality, because there are no separately, well, because there's not a lot of separately fitted detail which can easily break off and be fragile, it actually feels fairly robust, and on top of that the quality is very, very good. So 5 out of 5. And finally, value, I've given this 4 out of 5. Approximately 40 quid for any loco is actually pretty good. But certainly for one that's reliable with good build quality, that is a pretty good bargain, I would say, so I've given it 4 out of 5. Overall then, that is 7.2 out of 10, and we're in black and white because this is going into the vintage rankings, because it was produced before 1995. So that puts her first, top of the list, well, only one on the list, but hopefully we'll fill that up as the year goes by. It's quite nice having them run in the opposite direction for a while. It's probably not very prototypical, but makes a nice change. And she's certainly taking a scenic route through the sidings. It's alright, nice for the passengers, I suppose. I am a little bit worried about her now, and you'll see why very shortly. There you go, that's why. It's nice to see the Warship in maroon again. Always been very pleased with that one since I bought her. Yeah, she looks just the part, doesn't she? Oh yes, I love it. Okay folks, well that's going to just about do it for today. Really hope you enjoyed seeing that. Just a bit of something different as usual. Yeah, very different that was. But I hope you liked it anyway. So if you did, feel free to leave the video a like or even a comment. And if you'd like to send in a picture, of course, to have put up on the wall of fame, as you can see just there, if I can get a sneaky shot of it, then just send it in, email it to samstrains@outlook.com, and I'd be very glad to print it out and put it up for you. But for now, I think that's all I've got to say, so once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Cheers, everybody.